people to organize, to manage, It's the KP lah, the project. In both types of the KDP project, either to this for the stamp type or
STEM, I think, to become a professor in Malaysia, we always have to have a community service portion, right? And another part of the professorship is when you have to acknowledge the academic portion, which is the STEM part. So this is how I encourage the younger academics to participate in community-based research. I said, well, you need to demonstrate volunteerism anyway if you want to apply for professorships, right? So you have to balance your time. You want to, if you have children, then you enter the IEG, right? If you're young and you don't have children, open your eyes and see the society around you. So most of the time I use my religion, as a biggest motivator. Secondly, I really use ethical conduct, right? Because ethical conduct as a student, as a member of society, and even as a career as a professor, we have to have 50-50%. So we cannot demonstrate that we are being hypocritical to our own career as a lecturer. That's how I motivate them. Thanks very much.
Now can they hear online?
Okay, so let us welcome the next presenter. The next presenter is Mr. Lee Ing Beng. He will be talking about attaining institutions' research competitiveness. Mr. Lee is the Director of Government Strategy and Engagement, ASEAN, and he is from Clarivate. Is Mr. Lee online? Right, okay. So Mr. Lee has over 20 years experience in higher education segment and has developed a strong interest in supporting efforts for optimizing scientific research, planning and investment. Now, let us welcome him as he talks about attaining institutions' research competitiveness. The floor is yours, Mr. Lee.
We cannot hear you. One moment. Cannot hear you. Can you try again? Can you hear? We can't hear. It's not clear. One moment. Can you try?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, good now. Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. I think all of the audience must be exhausted. Except through all the presentation, I want to congratulate the committee on that. And I gained so much from sitting and listening to all of you. There are 2 points that I captured is very relevant, very important. I felt first excited to hear that my ARMA is planning for a certification program for research support personnel operation. I think that is amazing. I hope that trend can be accelerated to ensure that the level of professionalism in terms of research support in Malaysia will grow rapidly. The second The second speaker that I take note of is Associate Professor Dr. Ho. She shared about international funding, and she said something that touches my heart. That is, where do we draw the line between the research office support responsibility and the principal investigator or scientist responsibility in preparing for grant application? Those are very critical questions. I will try to address this as I go through my sharing. Now, if you can see my slide, there is this subtitle called Stronger Together. This togetherness refers to, anybody want to guess? It refers to you, representatives or leaders of the research office, and the researcher. And only when you work closely together, you will be able to help the institution to achieve research competitiveness. Right? So that's basically the focus of what I'm going to share. Now, I always like to give a broad outline of what I will be discussing. I'm going to share with you in this presentation one research report, one survey finding. It's all relating to research office, either the structure, the strategic direction, the challenges that we face. Then the last point is, are there available practical alternatives that can help you overcome the challenges that some of the people that have spoken to, members of the talk about the key challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis as supporting the researcher. Right. Now, in the context of can you, the level of service that you provide, I use the level of services, because you can have different level of services that you provide to the stakeholder. The support that you provide, I don't want to use the word support, but I prefer the word you position yourself as a partner. How can you partner your important stakeholder to give the university competitive edge? Now, the first report finding is from Ithaca SMR. This involves 44 research universities in the US, many of the Ivy League universities. Leadership, research, leadership, these are the vice president of research, provost, they are interviewed, and these are some of the key findings from the report. Now, I've given the link at the bottom of my screen. You'll be able to click through and download the report. Now, the key takeaway from me at this is it is important, the work that you do. It's not merely support. It is a function that can enable a competitive advantage. And all interview emphasize that research revenue, I mean the funding they receive, and the research competitiveness is the university of research, university strategic priority. And all this comes with a lot of challenges that the leaders need to manage. The other finding that is quite interesting is the structure of research office, the services offered by research office, the partnership program offered by the research office, they are evolving. If you look at the structure of research offices in Malaysia today, you will not find two identical structure. Some have innovation, commercialization together, some are separate, some provide publishing or grant application processes, support, so on and so forth. All right? Now, the other survey finding that I want to share involves 101 senior member university research officers. And if you look at this diagram here, 33% involve UK senior research member, 51% involves US, the other percent is Australia. And this survey also involved researchers. How many of them? 340 of them. What you can see here are the various subjects they will focus on that they are working on. And the key findings are three. The first one is about identifying the right funding opportunity for researchers, high quality one that is relevant. Researchers mentioning that they do not have time to upkeep so many profiles that we have created either internally or externally through many of other platforms. Then the last point, I think the next speaker following my talk will be addressing this because they want to measure research impact beyond citation. All right? And for the interest of time, I am only going to address the first point, which is funding remains the top priority. But in research and applying for funding, researcher expect. What do they expect? Researchers expect support from the research office. Okay? 79% of 214 participants say that they expect research office to help them. 80% say they will find funding opportunity on their own. And when they ask how well does the research office help with funding opportunity, only 45% say that they receive help from the research office. Now, in terms of once they have found the funding opportunity, then finding 62% of them say that it's difficult or very difficult to find relevant funding opportunity. 63%. Second part, which is applying for grant, what Professor Ko was alluding to earlier, it is the process of helping principal investigator applying for a grant. This is a deeper, higher, more involved level of partnership. And 83% say it is very difficult. Now, and I've done a very quick Google search by looking at this. These are basically a screen grab that I found for University in Malaysia. What are the kind of funding information that's being shared with their researcher? So you have basically a list. Some actually added the deadline in a table form. Some went slightly further, include the eligibility criteria, relevant field of research to be included in the funding. And the question I have for the audience here is, with this level of information and service, right, is it enough to meet your research expectation? Then third, will this provide, second point is, will this provide competitive advantage over other institutions? Because their researchers are also looking for funding, either within the country or competing globally for global. So that's the question that is asked. This is the one, the area that I want, right? And I was pushed to give this talk. Then I casually asked, what are the key challenges my RMA members face when providing supporting research, especially relating to identifying and helping to researcher to apply for funding opportunity. Many of them say it's too many, too time consuming to track all the deadlines, all the special requirement. And the one that is also quite difficult is coordinate finding the right reviewer and coordinate with the panel of reviewer to review the grant proposal. Now, what are the practical examples I'm going to share with you? I'm going to share with you two practical examples. The first practical example is this period up. It started as the most comprehensive resource on global funding. Sounds good. And it is curated with scholarly profile. What does that mean? And it provides funding insight by efficiently matching funding opportunity with researcher and potential partner. It is a mouthful. What does it really mean? How can it help you to position yourself as a partner if you have access to this resource? Now, given our key has a very broad customer base with over 700 customers globally, and out of 40 out of 75 top university PhD ranking, our customer more than half of the top 200 are our customer. Now, what are the key benefits of this platform? The PRP has this 5 modules. In the interest of time, I will only be covering the 2 modules and to demonstrate to you how this can help you support and gain institutional research competitiveness. Now, the stakeholder for the platform is the research office, the obvious one. It allows you with funding strategy. That means you are able to identify all funding opportunities where the researchers that are available, eligible to apply, based on your strategic focus area. I'm sure Malaysia University has Center of Research Excellence. Center of Excellence, you will have a specific focus. Then you can create the funding opportunity based on this focus area, and you can share, you can track the deadlines of all these funding opportunities. So that's the first point. The second point is you can create direct funding opportunity specific to the faculty. It can be for life science, it can be for arts and humanity, it can be for social science, it can be for computer science, and we target this to very specific group of researchers that focus on their research interests. The third point is it gives you insight of how your researchers are responding to the funding opportunity that you share, whether they have shared along, or whether they have looked into it, or whether they are tracking this, so that you can take target action if no action is taken. Now, for researcher and graduates, including the undergraduate students, how the platform help is very simple, because it has a system behind the infrastructure, and it is able to match the source of funding with the researcher. And you can create group, they can create group to share the funding among the team members, and the group members can be national, can be within the university, can be international. Right? And I'm going to talk about the next point. Now, how can PRP provide this kind of system? Let me explain to you. There are 4 key components. The first one is to compare. The promise is the most comprehensive source of global funding opportunity. And the funding opportunity comes from either association, government, or national. Funding type is numerous. It can be project, grants, it can be award, it can be support for case, support for funding. In addition to that, you can add the amount of the opportunity of the platform, take advantage of the communication ability. And what is the value add? This is the value add. All funding opportunity is created by a team of editors that is seated globally. Among them, they speak 15 different languages. And what they do is, if the funding opportunity is important, then this translation into English will be translated. Otherwise, they will keep track of the eligibility, the deadline requirement, and most importantly, they will assign control taxonomy to the funding opportunity. So all funding opportunity will be tagged with the relevance research area. I will demonstrate to you how this is important and why this is important. And in addition to that, all funding opportunity will be provided in detail. And then it is all this curated content that will be seated on the platform. The platform has a technology that will help improve the discovery, dissemination, communication of funding opportunity. How this is done? This is done by it will create a researcher profile for all users of the system. It will include the same control taxonomy, right? Then the researcher will be allowed to create groups. They are allowed to create a list of funding opportunities and share with the group, right? Then for research office personnel, you can create a newsletter and broadcast directly to your researcher within the institution. Lastly is the reporting function. I'm not going to elaborate the function, but it's basically allowing you to keep track of how your researcher are responding to the funding opportunity recommendation that you have given to them. Now, instead of giving a live demo, basically going to capture some screen grabs so that it helps save time. And what I've done here is I've created a search. I search for any funding opportunity that is limited to Malaysia or unrestricted. There's no restriction or there's specific to Malaysia. So that is my search done. And if you can guess what the wildest guess how many funding opportunities Malaysian researchers are eligible to. The answer is over 10,000 funding opportunities. So how does this funding opportunity can be further searched and discover the relevance to an individual researcher? This is how I'm going to share with you. Bear with me. This diagram represents what you can do with this 10,687. It will give you information how updated the funding opportunities are, what are the funder country, the deadline and special requirements of the funding opportunity, the funder type, the funding type, the applicant type, and the research area. What does that all mean? Let me show you. So you can see this 10,000, more than 10,000 funding opportunity. Which country are offering this funding opportunity? These are the number of companies. Singapore, actually, Malaysian researcher can look for funding opportunity from 13 funding opportunity from Singapore. This is one example. Now, the recency is basically the updatedness of the funding. It's updated on a week, on a daily basis. So the funding information that you have will be captured, will also capture the deadline, as well as if there is any submission limitation or special coordination information that is required set by the funder. Right? And these are the funder type and the funding opportunity. Right? Now, I have 2 more minutes to go. Then this is the applicant type. You can actually filter by individual, like keywords, so on and so forth. Then for each of the funding opportunity, you are able to look at the amount, who can apply, and research office can specify the research office note, the special instructions, set reminders of the deadline so that you give yourself more time before the deadline is due, where you can work together to prepare your grant proposal. Right? For each of the funding opportunity, you can actually search, share among the team member. You can curate this opportunity, and you can look for international potential collaborators internationally. I'm not going to go through the profile in the interest of time, but I'm going to share with you the other important area to share, which is identifying the right reviewer. Okay, to find the right reviewer that are impartial and have the right expertise is no means it's not easy, right? So here you have a system. What you need is basically a title, an abstract. Once you have all this information, these are typical information that's found in the grant form. So you just key this in, you put in the abstract, you set the condition, which researcher to include or to exclude, which reviewer to include, what are the recommended authors. Then you can specify how far back you want to research, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Research, you are able to find information. This gives you the recommended reviewer together with their review experience. If this person is an editorial board member, this information will be included in the system as well. Then you can proceed directly. All right. With that, I'd like to end my presentation. Thank you. If there's any question, I'm happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. We open now questions for the floor. I have a question, Mr. Lee, just a quick one. Does Pivot RP that you mentioned here provides funding opportunity filter for each researcher? Yes, so that's the function.
So the control vocabulary is text on the opportunity as well as the researcher.
Yes, exactly, Mr. Lee. So if we are interested to know more, there's always a venue to contact you. Right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Let us welcome our two speakers, our two final speakers, Professor Dr. Ainurul Rosli and Dr. Jane Chang. Professor Dr. Ainurul Rosli, she is the founder of the Social Innovation Movement, and Dr. Jane Chang is the co-founder. Both of them will take this slot today to speak about research impact. What is it, why it matters, and how can you set the trend? The floor is yours, Dr. Ainurul.
Oh, you're invited. Can you hear both of us? I'm assuming that everybody is can hear us. It must be a very long day for everybody. So thank you for having us, Malaysia. Both of us are, currently based in the UK, and it's great to be invited to deliver this. Jane, you want to start?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ainurul, for the introduction. And we are definitely very excited about the importance of this research impact agenda that is coming to Malaysia. And we were really privileged to have to be one of the pioneers in setting this trend. And we'd like to share our experiences with you, especially with the research managers who are in the audience. So today's session is about research impact. What is it? Why it matters? And how can we help researchers to set the trend? Okay, so this is what we like to focus on. Next slide, please. So what it is, why it matters, setting the trend. So we want to explain how researchers are engaged into impact, how their research can be could be taken by the society, by the individuals, societies, in the organization as well as societies. Yeah. So what it is? What we like to pose some questions in the chat. So what can you please write your response on what do you know about impact? Maybe probably you can just respond in the chat just to give us some ideas. Just very quickly, 2 minutes.
For those on the floor as well, if you want
Yeah.
to shout out.
The shout out is fine. Yeah. What do you know about impact?
I guess it's talking about how the research can benefit the society as well.
Society, how the research, the word research, and then the keyword benefit the society. Yes, that's good. It's about the research uptake being taken by the society. Yeah, that's a good one. And then what do you know about impactful researcher? Yeah, impact to the society. Yeah, thank you about giving society impactful. So there's connection. That means it changed the life of the community. It changed the life of the individual that are associated with your research being taken. How the research. Okay, next. So that's what it is. So what is impact? But of course, here we talk about the definition, the demonstrable impact that excellent research makes to society and the economy. So it goes beyond. That means there is a certain kind of contribution that is not only just to the society, but the uptake, how it changed the life of the individuals in the society, leading to the contribution to the economy. So that's what impact of your research can have enormous contribution to the country. So that's why we are here all today, talking about excellence research. And the previous speaker was talking about how to find the best funding, the way to get your research, being known globally and its contribution. And also another one is from the have keys, an effect on change of benefit to the economy, society, culture, public policy, services, health, environment, and quality of life beyond academia. So it's just like the picture that we had just now. It was like, it's such a big area of contribution, but how do we actually capture our work, the research work, into bite size, to show, to demonstrate that there is a change of benefit to the economy. So this is where we are here today. So I will pass on the next sharing to Professor Ainurul. Why it matters? Yeah.
So thank you. I didn't realize I was muted. Thank you, Jane. But this is the reason why we wanted to share about why it matters. And rather than outlining this one by one, this is where we just want to share our experience on why we try to bring research impact agenda and share it with our researchers in Malaysia. Because across the years that when we did our research, most of our research are community-based, right? Because our background is business support, entrepreneurship, and management. And what we did was that all of the trainings, development, and research that we've done for the community, we try to bring it back to Malaysia through projects and grants and application. And through our experience in the UK, the agenda has shifted for the past 10 years into impact. Any grant application that we submitted, we need to illustrate how we think on how we could actually create impact, measure impact, and ensuring the sustainability of the work. I think what makes it really important for us was when we went back to Malaysia back in maybe 6 years ago, with British Council funding, and we went to the Kota Kinabalu and Gunung Kinabalu, a rural area there. We went into the kampung, and then it's quite sad seeing the local communities there still using the well, air from the well that's actually from 100 years ago. And then when we were discussing the current situation with them, they said that, oh, there's a lot of investment that has been made. Researchers always come into our areas. They actually suggested, and even there's one research project that actually managed to brought the best technology available on water dissemination. I don't know what we call it, water tank. It's actually the best technology being embedded in from Japan in Malaysia at the hill of Kota Kinabalu. Oh, sorry, it's not Kota Kinabalu. Gunung Kinabalu. Yes, and I think that was like really shocking when we saw that tank. It is on paper, it is actually being rated as one of the great research, because technically the output is that the best technology, the best product in the market. But does that actually suit and benefit and beneficial to the community? It is there, but it's not actually being used at all. So it's actually strike us that we just cannot continue, because the return on investment of research is really should not be about how many papers a researcher contributed, or how many readers on the papers, how many products that they actually won in terms of the medal, but at the end of the day, it's not really impacting the community or the society. So I think this is why it matters now to make sure that, number one, at the national level, all of the return on investment for research should actually be clear on how it can actually contribute to the community, despite the fact that if you're talking about the basic research, it should be also thinking about how it could support the society in the future. So innovation solution to the social problem, understanding innovate on community problem, new approach to grant proposal, and I think across the years we managed to learn on the trick and tips on how do we actually engage better on grant proposal. I think everybody was actually asking us, how did you manage to get grant proposal every year non-stop? And I think it's more about how we manage to showcase our impact and how we actually manage to articulate the usefulness of our research to the funders. And at the end of the day, how it's actually contributing back to the career progression as a researcher. So when we look into the importance of movement, I think that's the reason why we founded a social innovation movement, to look into understanding why impact matters. So we go back to the definition that Dr. Jane mentioned just now. Impact is not merely about how research actually benefiting to the community. So this definition, we got it from the dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary. And we will look into impact, what it means, right? The first one is the ability to generate an outcome through an activity. So there's a general manner, we're not talking about research impact. So let's, looking into why ability matter, okay? So this is the reason why engage scholars. So the trend is actually movement that researchers, I think like the two speakers before Aisha, talk about knowledge transfer, talk about how do you actually work with the community. And that requires upskilling at the engaged scholarship level. And I think that's how we are. We are an engaged scholar. I, myself and Jane, the reason why we managed to actually progress in our career is because majority of the time people see us as an engaged scholar. Okay? And what does it mean? And the outcome element is a different level of contribution. We are contributing to our research, contributing to our individual career progression, contributing to the research community, contributing to our team development. So there's so many levels of contribution that we need to think about. And at the end of the day, understanding specificity of the activities that can help our research being uptake, our research output and outcome being uptake, leading to impact. So as you can see, the language that we use, we do not assume that any activities that we do can actually be considered as an impact pathway, right? So I think this is the reason why we started to do a lot of training for researchers to make sure that your papers is not your impact. Number of award that you win is not an impact, and I think it's about understanding what the differences between output, outcome, and how it leads to activities that can help you to generate impact, and understanding the differentiation matters. So what we're going to do today is only about who is the impact scholar. Think about the researchers that in the future there's so many researchers that are actually going to take up this approach on positioning themselves, making like this. What is motivation, right? What is the motivation of them doing their research? So this is where the legal relevance divide, if I want to bring in literature, because we research on engaged scholarship, we research about university industry collaboration, and we research about social impact. And that's the reason why we're able to bring in the evidence based on how we actually do it, and also we practice it because we do it and practice it as researchers. So I don't really want to talk quite a lot because we would like to open the floor on conversation about the challenges of supporting impact, whether you really understand about your own understanding about impact, because how can we support others we don't really understand the notion of research impact. What does it entail? Oh my God, does that mean that our scope of work will increase? And does that mean that we are already overstretched? Will that mean we now have to do a different activity to support researchers? So these are the element of of being aware about the trend is actually changing. It's not only on the research setting, because we are also involved on the commercial side of social enterprise, impact development, impact management, impact reporting for corporates, and the agenda for impact is actually coming quite heavily in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. So are we, prepared, to be part of the wave of change, or are we actually prepared to integrate the we voice, and I think this is where, we need to be clear on reflecting as ourselves as a researchers, reflecting ourselves as the impact officers supporting researchers who are developing, further as an engaged scholar. Okay.
So this is a very short session, so we want to ask you to think and reflect on what we have said in a very short space of time. How your research, have contributed to the generation of knowledge. That's number one. That really much is the output. Okay? How have you contributed to the development of the individuals around you that impact from your work, the research? Okay? And how have you contributed to the wider research community? That means the area of your research community. And then the last one is, how have you contributed to the broader society? That means the individuals, the government, the institutions that you're working with in the industry. So, of course, these are very big questions. And we have actually a series of workshops, and we are working with very closely with my RMA on it's called Simpact, and we have done this one trial run pilot program with UM Maybe I don't know, you would like to share some pointers there from our recent research training?
Yeah, I think what we found based on our engagement with the local researchers are that all of them are quite confused on what is that research. What is the difference between research impact and engagement?
Research output, yeah.
Yeah, research output, and also research, basically impact process and impact and research process. So and what we've learned so far was that when they're writing the impact section, majority of them are quite muddled up in terms of the differences between their output, their outcome, and also the pathway to impact that they are trying to achieve. And some of them felt that impact is you got it like I'm far from impact, there's I'm far from it. And I think after the training they realized that hold on a minute, it's just similar like research that we don't really have the answer. Research impact is not about confirming that this is what the benefit that I'm going to give to the community. No, I think it's more about the effort that we put in place and the clarity and planning that we put in place to make sure that we work towards achieving impact. And I think there's a very important element that we need to relate back to our researchers, that it's not about you need to be clear about your impact, but I think it's more about in your impact section is to be clear on what are the things and what are the activities that you're going to put in place to make sure that you can achieve those impacts. And that requires skill sets, upskilling on the engaged scholarship element. Not all researchers are comfortable to have this conversation with the community. We do understand that, but that also opened up a better collaboration opportunities with others that really able to do that kind of job, right, or that kind of activity. So for us, collaboration is really key. And I think that's the embeddedness of engaged scholar that we're trying to advocate here. Secondly, this is the questions, just to share with you. These are the questions. Now I know that Jane actually asking you to reflect on this, but actually these are the questions that researchers are encouraged to put in their CV when they submit the application for a national funding program. Because why? Majority of the time, we look into the understanding of we are an expert in science X, science B, and science C, but we don't really showcase that we are able to contribute to the community, that we manage our projects, and so on. So I think this is a summarize our presentation so far. So we are opening up to the floor if you have further questions and you want to ask any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ainurul and Dr. Jane. Let us look for questions. I think the most important aspect you touched on was being an engaged researcher and engaged academic. Has anyone got questions to ask? All right, so we have a question here. How research can give back to the community? Someone asked in the chat here how research can give back to the community.
Researchers are a bit confused. How? So this is where a separate activity that needs to be done to integrate the uptake. So this is where it's very important how to show that the research has the benefits to the society, and using the impact pathway, that means you plan the process to collect the evidence how it actually benefit to the society. So this is where we find that researchers find it very confusing. So we have what you call the SIMPACT program for research impact that we my RFMA coming soon. So probably you can contact Dr. Tan about this. Yeah, we will give you the schedule soon, ready for next year.
I just want to add on that, methodology section, if you think about in research application, that methodology section is articulating the way on how we collect data for our research. And pathway to impact is more about understanding on how we could actually plan for activities and collect data to to actually measure our uptake for research for the outcome and impact. So I think there's a differentiation there, and by understanding the differentiation, researchers could understand different ways of grant application. It gives an opportunity, for example, to tap into a practice-based funding, such as Yayasan Astana, where, sometimes researchers, I think researchers find it really difficult. How do you, I heard a lot of researchers are trying to apply for Yayasan Astana funding, but majority of them did not manage to do so. And I think one of the reasons is actually the pathway to impact is not clear, because that is actually an applied based funding. And I'm just sharing with you that Asim just managed to receive Yayasan Astana grant merely because we as a researcher, we could actually support that as an evidence base, and as a practitioner for impact, we could actually embed the pathway to impact that most applied grant or on the ground funders, non-research funders, I would call it, where researchers can also tap into to actually expand and disseminate their research. So I think these are the important elements of having a different lens when we look at the research pathway through the lens of pathway to impact. I hope that makes sense as well. Of your research output and outcome. I like your question in that terminology and kind of like trying to differentiate communication for impact. So that's where the dissemination comes into picture. We capture our impact through data collection. So this is where the pathway to impact help you to understand the activities. If you look into here, the activities element that to encourage research uptake. So when the researchers have this understanding about pathway to impact, they started to plan for activities on intervention on how we could actually embed a data collection mechanism, similar like researchers doing a research data collection, but this is actually for impact, and how do we actually integrate that alongside their research data collection. So that includes feedback, that includes evaluation, change evaluation, and identifying clear indicators for output leading to outcome. So it's more about if the researchers plan in advance, for example, they're able to integrate all of these clear indicators and outcome to to enable researchers to collect more activities. And what we did before was that we separated the research planning, and then we have another planning of impact planning. And that impact planning, we actually applied for another funding, which is actually using whatever we have done and apply for another funding. And now, particularly in the UK, we have a separate funding for dissemination, impact management, and also communication for public policy. And in Malaysia, we actually applied for Yayasan Hasana, because all of this thing is actually connecting better between the activities in our research, that is the rigor, right? And then the outcome for impact, which is actually the relevance. So I think as an academic and a researcher, the argument between how do I balance between rigor and relevance. And I think, if rigor, we talk about research planning and how we actually identify and how we want to do our research, we rarely actually put emphasis on how do we plan for relevance. And I think this is why we are here, like myself and Jane are here. If you do it systematically on how, you've been trained for coming up with this research proposal, for example, why can't actually we do the same for impact pathway for you to disseminate better and engage better for your research? And that is counting this impact, the pathway to impact, which is actually complementing the research proposal submission. So I think I hope that explains the two differentiation and how researchers can add value to the work through this properly planned pathway for impact.
Thanks very much, Dr. Ainurul and Dr. Jane. Is there any more you'd like to add? I think we are at the end point of our symposium today.
Where the question is, why determine? Okay, okay. Why we have to focus on research update? Okay, I think I've explained that before in, I think this is just a summary of why we have to focus on research update. Jane, you want to answer that, Jane?
Yeah, why to focus on research update? This is to show how your research has a contribution to the different level of people, to the different, like to the individual who are associated with you, the update. How does it change? How does your theory or your contribution that you have, okay? Or for example, those who are from the hard science, they are wondering, how does my product can change the life of my colleague, my institution, and the society, the user, the supplier, and the manufacturing. So this is where we actually train academics to think the different level of contribution, which leading to uptake, not only just to the end user, but to the different players in the society or in the industry. So even though you are from the hard science, but you have to start thinking how the different contribution, the different level of contribution can be impact in the industry or in the society. So join us at the CPAC. If this come out in the MRNF, then we will give you a very systematic, logical approach on how to plan the research uptake.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Dr. Jane and Dr. Ainurul Rosli, for your sharing and a very important aspect of research for impact. And we've come to the closure of our symposium today, the first Research Management and Administration Symposium, which we had aimed to bring together all the research managers and administrators to exchange and share experiences and best practices. I hope we have achieved this with the number of people present here today in physical as well as virtually. It has been a very good discussion of sorts in terms of pre, post, and after academic awards, in terms of research projects and grants. Now, without any more fuss, we would like to show you a little bit of the symposium, what's upcoming after this symposium, other MIRMA activities that you possibly would like to join, maybe sign up as a member and engage with other research and researcher members so that we will be able to practice the best practices in terms of governance, in terms of management, as well as using the cap of a researcher when it comes to academic and impactful research. So you can scan the symposium attendance, scan the symposium program book here shown on your screen, and you also are given here upcoming events in 2023. You can sign up with us as members. It's about 120 ringgit for individual membership per year. Individual memberships will begin in January 2023. And after this, you'll be given information about our activities planning through email, as well as further symposiums down the line. Now, with regards to other trainings, this will be mentioned periodically through the Secretariat's office. And in terms of your feedback and sharing with us, very much you're welcome to email, as well as contact the Secretariat through the QR codes present. Right. Thank you very much once again to everyone. We hope you had an enjoyable time. We'll see you again virtually as well as members of MIRMA Malaysia. Thank you and have a nice day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oh, you